Have you ever found yourself loving someone to the point of absolute exhaustion? Think about this for a moment. You are always the one reaching out first, making the plans, fixing some problems, and smoothing over the rough edges of his day. You pour your entire heart into making sure he feels supported, understood, and comfortable. But instead of bringing him closer, the distance between you only seems to grow. Many women believe that love is measured by sacrifice. We are taught that if we just give a little more, if we are just a little more patient, a little more accommodating, they will eventually realize our value. We believe that doing more will naturally get us more in return. But the truth is, human psychology rarely works that way. In fact, overgiving often achieves the exact opposite of what you deeply desire. When you give endlessly without receiving, you are not building emotional intimacy. You are slowly draining your own spirit. The more you step forward to fill every gap, the more he naturally steps back. If this sounds familiar, I want you to know something very important. You are not alone, and you have not failed. This video is not here to judge you, and it certainly is not here to blame men or teach you manipulative games. Instead, we are going to explore subconscious behaviors that drive this dynamic. We will uncover why giving too much actually turns off the instinctive reaction to pursue and cherish you. More importantly, we will talk about how you can safely step back, regain your emotional peace, and reclaim your queen's mindset, because you should never have to overwork for a love that is meant for you. To truly understand how easily this happens, to see how this dynamic sneaks into our lives, I want to tell you about Martha. Martha is 60 years old. She is a woman with a remarkably warm heart, the kind of woman who has spent her entire adult life making sure everyone around her is perfectly okay. Like many of us, her children had grown and moved out. She found herself living in a quiet house, experiencing the empty nest, and she finally decided it was time to open her heart again. She wanted companionship. She wanted depth. When she met a man named Richard, things felt incredibly promising. In the beginning, Richard was attentive. He told her how refreshing it was to meet someone so genuine, so deeply caring. For the first few weeks, they spent hours talking over coffee, walking through the park. Martha felt a spark she hadn't felt in a decade. But then, almost invisibly, Martha's old habits started to take over. Because she was raised to believe that a woman shows her love through nurturing, she began to naturally take the wheel in the relationship. If Richard mentioned he was tired after work, Martha would insist on driving across town to his place, bringing groceries to cook him a warm dinner. If they were going out for the weekend, she was the one researching restaurants, making the reservations and paying the bill more often than not. When Richard complained about his finances or his stressful job, Martha became his unpaid therapist. She listened for hours, offering solutions, soothing his anxiety, completely putting her own needs on the back burner. She thought she was building deep emotional intimacy. She firmly believed that by being the most supportive, loyal, and giving woman in his life, he would naturally realize her immense value. She thought her sacrifices would secure his commitment. But Martha had unknowingly abandoned her nonchalance. She had completely forgotten her queen's mindset, and because of that, the dynamic began to shift. You see, Richard's subconscious behavior started to kick in. At first, he had called her an absolute blessing. But soon the effort he put into seeing her simply vanished. Why would he plan a date when he knew Martha would handle everything? Why would he drive to see her when he knew she would always come to him? The biological space required for him to pursue her, to value her, was completely gone. His texts became shorter. He started taking hours, sometimes a full day, to reply to her thoughtful messages. When Martha asked to see him, he suddenly had endless excuses. He was too stressed. He was too tired. He needed time to figure things out. Yet whenever he needed a favor, whenever he needed someone to untangle a mess he had made, he knew exactly who to call. And Martha, terrified of losing the connection, always answered. The breaking point came on a Tuesday evening. Martha had caught a terrible flu. She was running a high fever, feeling completely drained and vulnerable. She texted Richard, simply asking if he could drop off some medicine on his way home. His response was quick, and it shattered her heart. He wrote, "I have a lot going on tonight. Can't you just order something online? Hope you feel better." In that quiet, lonely room, the devastating truth finally hit her. He was not in love with her. He did not value her emotional safety or her well-being. Richard was only in love with the absolute convenience she provided. She was exhausted, running on empty, because she had settled for a transactional relationship. She had been trying to buy his devotion by proving how useful she could be. She had traded her self-worth for breadcrumbs of affection. Martha wiped her tears that night, and just touched herself. She realized that she had to stop chasing and start choosing. She finally understood that true love is not an endurance test, and a man who genuinely cherishes you will never watch you carry the weight of the relationship all by yourself. But why exactly does this happen? Why do men pull away when we give them absolutely everything? Perspective 1: the absence of space and the biological instinct to chase. The truth is, no matter how much a man tries to hide it, his subconscious behaviors are deeply driven by biology. To truly understand why he pulls away, we must first look at the absence of space and the biological instinct to chase. Many women believe that if they just make a man's life perfectly comfortable, he will naturally fall deeply in love. We are so incredibly used to being the ultimate caregivers. We have spent decades raising our children, managing chaotic households, and constantly fixing everyone's daily problems. For women over 55, relationships and dating might feel different than they did in the past. When we finally meet a man we really like, we naturally bring that exact same nurturing energy to the table. We text him good morning just so he feels remembered. We plan the weekend dates so he does not have to stress about the details. We offer to drive to his place, or we quickly pick up the dinner tab simply to make his life a little bit easier. We think we are being the perfect supportive partner. But here is the absolute psychological reality. Attraction isn't something we can fully control. Men are biologically wired to deeply value the things they must work for. It is a powerful, instinctive reaction that has existed since the beginning of human history. When something is simply handed to a man, when there is absolutely zero effort required on his part, his mind automatically stops seeing it as a rare prize. When you do 100% of the work in a relationship, you are taking up all the emotional and physical space. You leave absolutely no room for him to step forward. You leave no room for him to wonder what you are doing, to actively crave your attention, or to simply miss your sweet presence. Love needs oxygen. It needs a healthy amount of distance to breathe, to stretch, and to genuinely grow. By quickly filling every single quiet moment with your eager effort, you accidentally kill the natural mystery. You completely strip away his biological opportunity to pursue you. And a man who does not have to actively pursue you will rarely cherish you in the long run. This is exactly why maintaining your graceful nonchalance is so incredibly important. A woman with a true queen's mindset deeply understands the magnetic power of space. She firmly knows her self-worth is never tied to how useful she can be to a man. She does not rush in a panic to fill the silence. Instead, she leans back and she confidently allows him the space to show up. She lets him make the necessary effort required to build real, lasting emotional intimacy. Because she knows that if she completely builds his entire world for him, he will eventually only take it for granted. But taking up too much space is just the first part of the problem. When we constantly overgive without boundaries, we unknowingly trap ourselves in a completely different psychological role. Perspective 2: the caretaker trap versus the lover dynamic. Let us explore exactly what that role is. Many women believe that stepping in to manage a man's life is the ultimate proof of devotion. For women over 55, this happens so incredibly easily. We have spent most of our adult lives being the absolute anchor of our families. We raised our children, we managed busy households, and we took care of aging parents. Nurturing is practically woven into our DNA. So when we find a man we deeply care about and we see him feeling stressed or disorganized, our very first instinct is to fix it. We start cooking his meals, reminding him of his doctor appointments, and happily managing his emotional burdens. We truly think we are showing him how much we love him. But one of the biggest mistakes women make is confusing the role of a caretaker with the role of a lover. A romantic relationship deeply requires a spark. It requires physical intimacy and equal emotional intimacy, where two capable adults actively choose each other. When you take over his responsibilities, you completely destroy that lover dynamic. You accidentally position yourself as a maternal figure. And the truth is, no matter how much a man tries to hide it, his subconscious behaviors will instantly shift the moment this happens. He will absolutely welcome the comfort you provide. He will gladly let you do his laundry, pay for dinner, and listen to him complain for hours on end. But gratitude is not the same thing as romantic desire. Comfort is not the same as passion. When a man feels like he is being mothered, the natural romantic tension simply dies. The mystery completely vanishes. He stops feeling the biological urge to pursue you, to romance you, and to impress you. Instead, he just becomes deeply dependent on your endless services. This is exactly where you must firmly root yourself in your own self-worth. A woman who holds a queen's mindset knows that she is the prize. She brings warmth and love, but she absolutely refuses to adopt a fully grown adult. She holds on to her elegant nonchalance. She steps back and she allows him to fix his own problems. She gives him the basic dignity of being a highly capable man. By refusing to become his caretaker, she keeps the romantic tension beautifully alive. But what happens when you have already crossed that line? What happens when he begins to expect your endless favors as the basic price of his affection? This leads us to a very dangerous shift in the relationship. Perspective 3, the danger of transactional affection. Think about this for a moment. When a relationship becomes built entirely on what you do for a man, it quietly transforms into a transactional relationship. I understand this perfectly, because I have heard this exact story countless times from women in our generation. For women over 55, relationships and dating might feel very different. We come from a time where being a good woman meant being endlessly useful. We held marriages together, we raised our children, and we learned exactly how to survive the empty nest. So when a new man enters our life and asks for a little help, we naturally step in without hesitation. You might help him organize his chaotic finances. You might gladly run his daily errands when he is busy. Or you might become his unpaid therapist, listening to him complain about his stressful life for hours on end, and in return he rewards you with a sweet compliment. He calls you his lifesaver, and he tells you how lost he would be without you. We hear those beautiful words and we mistakenly believe we are building deep emotional intimacy. The truth is, no matter how much a man tries to hide it, his actions will eventually reveal his true intentions. His subconscious behaviors will show you exactly how he views the relationship. A man who truly loves you loves your simple essence. He loves your quiet moments, your subtle laughter, and your calm presence. But a man who is caught in a transactional dynamic only loves the absolute convenience you provide. You can always tell the true difference by watching what happens when you decide to stop giving. Notice how quickly his sweet affection completely disappears the very moment you say no. If you have a terrible day and need him to comfort you, he is suddenly too stressed to deal with it. If you cannot run that errand for him, he becomes distant, cold, and completely unavailable. He is not holding on to you because you are deeply special to him. He is holding on to you because you make his life incredibly easy. He is simply paying for your services with tiny breadcrumbs of attention. This is exactly where your unshakable self-worth must step in. A woman with a true queen's mindset never trades her precious energy for basic decency. She knows that real love does not come with an invisible invoice. She fully embraces her elegant nonchalance. She completely stops trying to prove her value through endless acts of service, because she knows that you are the prize. A man who is genuinely meant for you will stay right by your side, even on the days when you have absolutely nothing to give but your smile. But why do we keep falling into this exhausting trap? Why do we keep pouring our loving hearts into men who only know how to take? The painful answer lies in a very hidden place, deep within our own psychological fears. Perspective 4. Overgiving as a subconscious projection of insecurity. Let us carefully examine where this endless need to give actually comes from. Many women believe that their constant sacrifices are simply a sign of a generous heart. We truly like to think we are just being incredibly loving and supportive. But if we honestly look at our subconscious behaviors, a very different truth emerges.
For women over 55, new relationships can sometimes trigger the heavy emotional baggage of our past.
We come from a generation that taught us to put everyone else first. We have survived painful divorces. We have quietly endured the slow fading of long marriages. We have navigated the strange silence of the empty nest. We have felt that sudden, aching loss of purpose when our families no longer need us to manage their daily lives. When we finally step back into the dating world, a quiet insecurity often creeps in. It is the deep, terrifying fear of not being enough. It is the hidden fear of being abandoned or easily replaced. To protect our hearts, we unconsciously develop a very specific defense mechanism. We convince ourselves that if we make ourselves completely indispensable, a man will simply never leave us. We project our inner insecurity onto the new relationship by doing absolutely everything for him. We try to buy his permanent loyalty by proving how useful we can be. We think we are offering him a safe haven. But attraction isn't something we can fully control through acts of service. When you overgive out of fear, men can immediately sense that anxious energy. It does not feel like genuine love or authentic emotional intimacy to them. Instead, it feels like a heavy, unspoken expectation. It feels desperate. A man wants to fall in love with a woman who is deeply secure in her own self-worth. He is naturally drawn to a woman who gracefully embraces her nonchalance. He wants someone who knows she is entirely enough just by breathing and existing. When you fully step into a queen's mindset, you completely stop trying to earn love. You realize that you do not have to perform endless chores to be deeply cherished. You stop chasing his constant validation. You start choosing your own emotional peace. You trust that the right man will stay because he loves who you are, not because he needs what you do. But letting go of this deep insecurity is only one part of the healing journey. When we focus all of our precious energy on keeping a man happy, we slowly lose something even more valuable. We begin to lose the very essence that made us wonderfully attractive in the first place. Perspective 5. Losing the queen's mindset and your inner world. That precious essence we just talked about is exactly what we call the queen's mindset. Think about this for a moment. When you first met him, you had a vibrant and beautiful life. You had your quiet morning routines, you had your lovely evenings with your girlfriends, you had your garden, your books, and your own hard-earned peace. For women over 55, rebuilding a personal life after the kids leave the nest is a true triumph. We survived decades of prioritizing everyone else. We worked so hard to finally create an independent world just for ourselves. But one of the biggest mistakes women make is slowly letting that world fade away the moment a man enters the picture. You start clearing your weekend schedule just in case he calls. You casually skip your weekly book club because he might want to grab dinner. Before you even realize it, you have made him the absolute center of your universe. You have completely lost your queen's mindset. Now let us look at how a man's psychology processes this subtle shift. Men are naturally captivated by a woman who is wonderfully self-sufficient. They fall in love with the independent woman who is deeply grounded in her own self-worth. When you have your own active life, you maintain a beautiful sense of mystery. But when you drop absolutely everything for him, his subconscious behaviors begin to drastically change. He no longer sees you as a fascinating challenge. You simply become entirely predictable. When you are always available, you lose that graceful nonchalance that made you so incredibly magnetic in the beginning. He stops wondering what you are doing. He knows exactly where you are, and he knows you are just patiently waiting for him. This kind of predictability actually kills the natural romantic tension. Deep emotional intimacy requires two separate, whole individuals coming together by choice. It does not happen when one person completely erases her own life to merge perfectly into his. A man cannot deeply value a woman who does not highly value her own time. When you abandon your personal joy to revolve around him, you are silently telling him that his life is much more important than your own. You must remain the absolute queen of your own world. When you keep your hobbies and your friendships passionately alive, you remain a captivating prize. You show him that your happiness does not desperately depend on his attention. This emotional independence is deeply intoxicating to a man. It forces him to step up and actively earn a place in your rich, beautiful life. But what happens when you finally decide to take your emotional power back? What happens when you stop reacting to his every delayed text and you choose to stay perfectly calm instead? This brings us to a truly fascinating psychological trigger. Perspective 6, the magnetic power of nonchalance. The truth is, no matter how much a man tries to hide it, his subconscious behaviors are constantly testing your emotional boundaries. He instinctively wants to know how much power he truly holds over your state of mind. Think about a time when a man suddenly pulled away or took hours to return a simple text message. Many women panic in this exact moment. They send another text just to check in. They ask if everything is okay or if they somehow did something terribly wrong. This panicked reaction instantly signals a deep lack of self-worth. It tells him that your daily happiness completely depends on his constant validation. But a woman with a queen's mindset responds entirely differently. For women over 55, we have already weathered so many real storms in our lives. We have safely navigated the heavy burdens of marriage, career changes, and profound loss. So we truly do not have the mental energy to completely fall apart over a delayed message. When you apply this hard-earned wisdom to dating, you unlock the absolute magnetic power of emotional stability. When he naturally pulls back, you simply lean back. You do not ask why he is being so quiet. You gracefully embrace your nonchalance, and you redirect your precious energy back to your own beautiful life. You go for a walk in your garden, you meet a friend for coffee, and you remain completely unbothered. This quiet emotional control creates a powerful psychological shift in his mind. It instantly triggers his instinctive reaction to pursue you again. He realizes that you are not desperately waiting by the phone. He sees that you do not need him to constantly regulate your emotions. This level of independence makes you incredibly mysterious and highly attractive. Men do not fall deeply in love with women who eagerly crumble under the slightest bit of uncertainty. They fall in love with women who provide a safe, emotionally secure sanctuary. Your calm silence speaks absolute volumes. It silently tells him that you are perfectly whole on your own, and this is exactly what builds genuine emotional intimacy. He begins to respect you deeply because he knows you possess the quiet strength to walk away if you are not treated right. You stop chasing his attention, and you simply allow him to realize what he might eventually lose. But mastering this elegant emotional control leads us to one final, beautifully liberating realization. It brings us to the ultimate lesson about knowing our own limits and finding absolute peace in exactly who we are. Perspective 7, the beauty of enough. This brings us to the final and most beautiful realization. For women over 55, learning this lesson is often the most profound turning point of all. Many women deeply believe that a successful relationship requires endless sacrifice. We have spent decades running on empty. We gave our best years to our marriages, our growing children, and our careers. We were socially conditioned to believe that love is something we must constantly earn through hard work. When we start dating again, we carry that heavy habit directly into our new romances. But a truly healthy relationship does not demand that you exhaust yourself. It does not require you to bleed your own energy dry just to keep a man interested. There is a breathtaking power in simply being enough. When you finally embrace the beauty of enough, a massive shift happens in your dynamic. You completely stop overcompensating. You stop trying to prove to him that you are highly valuable. You realize that your warm presence, your wisdom, and your company are already a rare gift. Let us look at how a man reacts to this specific change. When you stop doing absolutely everything for him, his subconscious behaviors begin to adapt. He no longer feels the heavy pressure of your anxious overgiving. Instead, he feels the quiet confidence of a woman who completely understands her own self-worth. He sees a woman who maintains her graceful nonchalance, even when things are not perfectly planned out. This relaxed, feminine energy is exactly what builds genuine emotional intimacy. He realizes that you are not a frantic caretaker trying to manage his adult life. You are a high-value partner who expects him to step up and meet you halfway. A man who is genuinely meant for you will be deeply inspired by this boundary. He will naturally want to protect you, pursue you, and cherish you. He will actively invest his own effort because you have finally given him the beautiful space to do so. And if he does not step up, if he simply walks away because you stop making his life completely effortless, then you have lost absolutely nothing of value. You have simply filtered out a man who is using your kind heart out of pure convenience. Embracing the beauty of enough means preserving your precious emotional peace. It means remembering that you are the prize, and you never have to perform to be truly loved. But reading about these psychological shifts is one thing. Actually putting them into practice is a completely different story. How can you safely apply this in your own life starting today? How can you test his true intentions without playing any manipulative games? Want to test it? The art of stepping back. The truth is, the most powerful test of a man's heart requires absolutely no words at all. It simply requires the quiet courage to gracefully step back. I want you to try something very specific for the next few days. When you wake up tomorrow morning, do not send him that usual good morning text. When the weekend is approaching, do not offer a single suggestion for your plans together. And when he casually mentions a problem at work or a stressful situation, simply listen. Do not rush in with brilliant solutions to fix it for him. Just warmly say you are sorry he is dealing with that, and let him handle his own life. For women over 55, stepping back like this can trigger some very old fears. We were taught that if we stop being perfectly useful, we will be left all alone. You might feel a sudden wave of anxiety, worrying that he will simply forget about you if you go quiet. But this is exactly where your true self-worth must take the lead. You are not playing a manipulative game. You are simply removing your anxious energy and creating a clean, beautiful, empty space. Now pay very close attention to his subconscious behaviors in this new space. If a man truly values your emotional intimacy, he will instantly feel your absence. He will realize that the warm, loving energy you always provide is suddenly missing. And because his biological instinct to pursue is naturally triggered, he will step forward. He will initiate the conversation. He will ask to see you. He will gladly make the necessary effort to bridge the gap because losing you is simply not an option for him. If he does this, the relationship has genuine, beautiful potential. But there is another possible outcome that you must be prepared for. What if you step back and he just lets you go? What if he happily accepts your silence and completely disappears from your daily life? If that happens, please do not let it break your beautiful heart, because you did not just lose a loving partner. You just successfully freed yourself from a man who was only using you for absolute convenience. You just saved yourself years of emotional exhaustion and quietly protected your queen's mindset. This simple act of nonchalance is your absolute greatest shield. It quickly reveals the undeniable truth about his true intentions. And when you finally see that truth clearly, you are left with one final, deeply liberating choice to make. That choice is to finally choose yourself. For women over 55, this realization is the ultimate awakening. You have spent so many beautiful years nurturing everyone else around you. You have built homes, raised families, and held people together through the hardest of times. But love in this golden chapter of your life is not an endurance test. You do not have to exhaust yourself just to prove that you are worthy of basic affection. You must remember that you are the prize. Your presence, your wisdom, and your deeply caring heart are incredibly valuable. True emotional intimacy is a beautiful, mutual choice. It is never a tiring, one-sided chase. When you permanently stop overgiving, you naturally protect your absolute self-worth. You force a man's subconscious behaviors to align with deep respect rather than lazy convenience. When you fully embrace your queen's mindset, you stop accepting breadcrumbs of attention. Your elegant nonchalance becomes your greatest, most beautiful strength. It reminds you that a man who genuinely deserves you will eagerly step up to meet you halfway. He will never expect you to carry the entire emotional weight of the relationship on your own shoulders. Now, I really want to hear from you. Have you ever realized that you were giving entirely too much to a man? Have you ever reached that quiet breaking point where you finally decided to stop and step back? How did you feel in that exact liberating moment? Please share your story in the comments below. Your personal experience might be exactly what another woman needs to read today to find her own strength. Remember, you should never have to overwork for a love that is truly meant for you.